My name is Kwabena Opoku-Agyeman, and my program is Ghana, Africa in the 21st Century. My parents are academics, and my mother was actually an academic director of SIT. So I kind of grew up with SIT kids who came over, and that gave me a certain level of interest in the program. My PhD dissertation was on African electronic literature, specifically examples from Ghana, and I looked at the ways in which oral literature functioned in digital contexts. So I kind of took oral literature and digital literature and I combined them together. The students will spend a significant portion of the homestay in Accra, which is the capital of Ghana. And the thing about Accra is that it's very cosmopolitan. So there are people from different ethnic groups that gather in the same place. As a result, you will have a lot of urban experiences. But then, complementary with this, they will have a homestay in a rural area where the language is typically local. It will be Twi because that's what they will learn. And I think that spending time in these two different places will give them insight into the ways in which urban and rural Ghana differ and also complement each other, because they won't always see that, okay, one place is different from the other, but they'll see that two places do similar things but in different contexts. And they will learn how different people communicate cultural norms and how some of the things that they are used to will be challenged just by staying with another family, another culture. And I think the homestay will also learn from these American students as well, which is what I'm excited about, because then both will teach each other. Ghana is a beautiful country. Ghana has so much to offer in terms of both formal educational and then non-formal educational opportunities. As a student, you are primarily a researcher. So you are primarily trying to look at issues, interrogate things, problematize things, and come up with not just solutions, but let's say responses to the things that interest you. I think digital technology is one of the biggest signifiers of the 21st century. Everyone uses digital technology now, or almost everyone, right? So if you want to look at how Africa is functioning in this new century, I think that digital is a very good way of going into that area. It will be interesting to see how these connect and how people can learn from each other. The media is very powerful and very pervasive. So how I see it is typically Americans have this idea of Africa or Ghana based off what they watch on CNN or some major mainstream media. And on the reverse, the idea that Ghanaians have of America is also based off Hollywood movies. So there is this sort of give and take kind of thing going on. I think when they come to Ghana, they will see that yes, there are some of the stereotypes hold true to an extent. After all, stereotypes are not necessarily wrong. The problem with the stereotype is you take that single truth and make it represent everybody else. And that is a problem. So they will see some of the things that they've seen on CNN and so on and so forth, but they'll realize that that's not the only thing. And then they will see that people are as normal as they are. They have the same anxieties, they have the same strengths, they have the same worries, they have the same things that they find interesting, and they will converge and diverge on different points. Because then we see people willing and able to engage with things that they might not have that much knowledge of. So then that gives a certain honest way of understanding things, because you're not coming in with a certain agenda which you might have if you were looking for it actively yourself. Any student, any undergraduate student will find some currency in this program. And when I say any, I mean from the highly specialized fields such as engineering or pre-med or nursing to the broader liberal arts, because the courses that are tied to the program are quite foundational, and they will be able to contextualize living in and relating to evolutionary country. And I think that foundation will be able to then give them this confidence, as it were, and skill set to be able to go onto the ISP or the internship, which will help them to look at an issue from a very narrow perspective. So for instance, a student could come in and think about attitudes of market women to banks. The banks have the potential of making a lot of money from the savings of people who work in the informal sector. So how could a student look at the ways in which these market women or farmers or whatever demographic how do they relate to these kinds of institutions, and how could this person come up with a model that bridges this gap and help to connect this disconnect. And even if I go to the specific majors, like an engineering major could easily look at the ways in which buildings are set up in Ghana and make an argument in terms of civil engineering. And even the medical student could do something on traditional medicine and how this connects with Western style medicine. There are so many things that anyone could do depending on their interest. And just doing research on that level can lead to fascinating things. I believe that any student who comes on the program and interacts with the program will be going back to his or her home with a certain level of experience that I don't think they would get in other places. And of course, you can go beyond that and read books and interact and so on and so forth, especially in this 21st century where through digital technology, you can find out things from other sources and so on and so forth. But nothing beats experiential learning. It's best to go to the place, interact with the people, have an idea from your own perspective. But ultimately, and I will always make the students realize this, that regardless of what they see, regardless of what they do, regardless of what they experience, that is not going to be the end of it. They will always be missing out on something because no one ever has all-encompassing idea of a place. So it's a lifelong experience of learning and unlearning things.